All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Infinite Thread. This is our third episode. I hope you all out there have been following your threads and learning about yourselves in the few weeks we've been at this. Today's guest, we're really excited to have one of my good friends and also a neighbor. So we get to be in person here today for the first time in the Infinite Thread. But our guest is Marc Agnello. Marc has been a lifelong learner and coach. He's a phys ed teacher molding the young minds of our children. He's a varsity baseball coach. He's coaches collegiate ranks, assisting me and coaching in the summers. Over the years, he's coached 3 or 4 major leaguers and everything in between. And he also has an array of other super interesting interests and hobbies that he's come to along his journey. So we're really excited to chat with Marc today and unpack, his take on the Infinite Thread. To kick things off, Marc, I have a quote to read to you, and I want to get your take on how it makes you feel or what it invokes in you.
Sounds good.
Our quote today is from Seneca, who is a Roman philosopher from way back in the day, and specifically dealing in the realm of Stoicism. So our quote is, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those who you are capable of improving. The process is a mutual one. Men learn as they teach." So, Marc, what does that quote make you feel?
Well, there's a ton unpacked there. It's a phenomenal quote. I mean, it resonates with me being a teacher, number one, and a coach, the end part of that, but just the whole part about being with people who can bring you up and can help change you and can help mold you. Look at that, not only personally for me, but for my students, my kids that I have, and just my players. It's a powerful quote. It's pretty good.
Yeah, we want to start things off in a big way here, know?
That is. I'm still pondering. That's pretty good stuff.
Well, I'm sure
Well, you're making me feel, you're making me experience some, or I am experiencing a little bit of jealousy for you guys being able to do this in person here. Connecting with that quote, because I totally agree and would love to surround myself with you at any opportunity. Let's also extend that to just environment in general, because I want to take note of the room that we're in right now. This, I believe, is somewhere at Marc's house, and he has a multitude of learning implements back there, and I was just wondering if we could perhaps take a quick look at what he's got going on. Let's not understate the importance of environment and also crafting the behaviors that you are looking to express, right? So the people you surround yourself and the environment. But to spark my curiosity, if you wouldn't mind indulging me in a little a little tour of the room.
Absolutely. Let me grab the computer here.
We need a tour.
Maybe that will fire us down a rabbit hole of sorts.
All right, first thing first, this is the garage at my house, so this is what I look at outside my garage. Excuse the car, but there's a beautiful view I have when I work out. And then basically in here, as you walk in, we have dumbbells, and I'll walk towards back in a little bit. I have my treadmill there. I'll walk backwards so I don't trip. I have my high-density plyo boxes here, yoga mat. On the floor, I have my different mobility implements for feet, rumble roller, or ball. What else? Let me keep going. Over here I have my Aerodyne, which kind of mess you up a little bit. Down there I have my bow. I don't know if you can see my bow in the case. My targets. I have med balls. I have chains. I have bands. I have my rucksack. Let's see. Over here in this corner, as I back up a little bit, you'll see my boxing stuff that I use for MMA. Gun cases up top, dumbbells, barbells. What else? Olympic plates.
I noticed some books back there.
Oh my goodness!
Library.
Let's all agree that this dude is dialed in, folks. All right. I'd like to frame that in a form of a question. That's an incredible assortment there, Marc. And clearly you've been following the threads of the things that interest you, and that's obviously part of the reason we're buddies and why we wanted to chat with you today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For me, can you speak a little bit about how you spend your time out there, and how that might lend toward your learning and then subsequently teaching, your players or your students in, supporting their own passions and becoming good human beings.
Absolutely.
It's a lot to unpack, but take aim anywhere you'd like,
Sure.
sir.
This has been a place where I've always had to do my training. I've always been into lifting heavy, so to speak, but probably in the past year and a half, I've transitioned that to more of, getting into breath work, getting into yoga, getting into more movement. So more of what I do here in this gym is I get up early in the morning, do my breath work, do my yoga, do my meditation. Then in the afternoon, I do more of my workouts, more movement-based or conditioning-based for the jiu-jitsu that I train as well. But this is almost like my little sanctuary. Again, I showed you the view as I train here, as I look out in the trees, the hills. Just, it's peaceful. I'm able to really concentrate on what I'm doing, my movement, my breath. And that allows me to do what I do to take care of myself. I can take care of my family, take care of my players, take care of my students. And again, share the love I have of movement with them as well. I mean, that's why I love this place. It's really peaceful here.
Yeah, it's definitely clear that, as Kurt said at the beginning, environment is also just as important as people you surround yourself with. And it's clear you have quite an environment here to do some exploring and some investigating for yourself, which is the key to following your thread.
Absolutely. I mean, this is where I use it not only for training. I shoot my bow into the garage. I do yoga down here. I do breath work. I've got my hunting stuff over here. I read in the corner. It's just a chance just to get away, to have a great environment to really take care of myself.
And I think that's really appropriate for anybody listening to understand, because, again, in different standpoint from myself, where I don't have any children or anything yet, Marc's got a busy life. He's got 3 kids. He's got, multiple irons in the fire with work and other hobbies. And I think can't be overstated the importance to have a sanctuary or a little space for yourself to retreat to.
Absolutely. And that could be anywhere. I mean, not only is it my gym, but on my deck. I might sit in my front porch. I might just go for a walk. So my environment is basically where I'm at, number one. But this is the environment I have at home, so to speak. Like you guys have taught me through the past year through all this, my environment can be sitting in my office in school where I can meditate for 5 minutes. So, but again, you're right. The environment is huge. It's really huge.
That's amazing, man. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
I'd like to also connect that to your mention of breath work and meditation, because you have a similar pedigree, I imagine, to Mike and myself. You said that you came from kind of a heavy lifting background. I know you were a baseball wrestling guy, trained some jiu-jitsu. Clearly following, masculine energies that speak to you. How has that evolved into, now being the kind of person who says, I can meditate in my office for 5 minutes? Because I just imagine that doesn't happen overnight.
No, it's been a long time process. I mean, not getting into too much detail, but about a little over 3 years ago, I had a heart attack. So that kind of woke me up to realize, holy cow, I'm 40, it was 48 at the time when it happened. Woke me up to kind of realize there's more to life than just what I've been doing. So even from that point, it still took a couple of years to understand that there's more to life than lifting heavy weights and grunting and groaning over weights. And what really stirred that for me is, actually, I hate to say it, COVID. My spring baseball season was canceled. So here I am home with nothing to do. Baseball's taken from me. Because it took me 30-some years to wait for this position to come available. The guy that before me was there for years, so I finally got the opportunity, and it was taken away. So from there I started hunting. I started fishing. I picked up fly fishing and just found being in the wilderness, in the environment, in nature, was amazing. It was so soothing. I think that was a transformation for me. It was this spring where it made me realize, wow, there's more to life than sitting here and throwing iron around. So that helped it, and then getting to know you and getting to know Mike and hanging out with you guys made me realize, wow, maybe I need to really take care of my breath, and maybe I need to do more yoga, so more mobile for jiu-jitsu and just for life in general, and maybe I do need to meditate because I'm a Sicilian, and I have a tendency to do things 120%, and sometimes I got to relax. So meditation has really grounded me and really centered me. I mean, it's even hard to even describe it, to be honest. It really has changed me. It really has.
Well, and it's such a good endorsement for anybody and everybody that might find this podcast or be listening right now that, maybe like, well, I'm not a guru, I'm not into this stuff all the time. neither were Kurt and I at some point, and arguably neither are we yet, or will we ever be. So this is just a process that we encourage everybody to follow. That Marc is a great example of how you can evolve at any age, at any point in your life, due to any circumstance. I think that's huge.
I mean, I'm 51 now, and to be honest with you, I'm looking for the next 51 years. I mean, I think my next 51 years will be better than my first 50. I mean, I can retire from teaching in 4 years, but man, I feel like I'm 20 again. And it's a combination of many things, but it's exciting. It's exciting to know what's going to happen the next 51 years I have, if not more.
Totally.
Well, you're in the driver's seat.
That's right.
It's just and I think that connects to our overall point here in that, developing awareness, of yourself and using tools such as the barbell, such as nature, your breath, cold exposure, go out on a ruck, getting to know yourself through that awareness, allows you to be excited about change, which is inevitable, right?
Yes.
So you sound to me like someone who has maintained a growth mindset. So something like COVID, having us sit at home for, multiple months at a time, you were instantly able to shift that towards something like, hey, maybe that's a thread I haven't focused on yet. I live in this beautiful area. I mean, we just went hiking in the hills behind your guys' houses a couple weeks ago. And goddamn, I mean, throw a couple pounds on your back at all. I mean, that's tough enough. It'll show you what you're made of.
Absolutely.
So to speak. And really what we need to do is just listen, right?
Totally. Well, and one question jumps to my mind based on what you just said, Kurt, and what you've said so far, Marc. This is somewhat of a newfound thread, right, for you to follow. So with it being still fresh, with you still exploring and adding and subtracting to it daily and finding your right mojo for you, how have you felt or noticed the shift you've made recently affecting your past activities that maybe you've still maintained? How have they changed those? How have they improved them or altered them for you?
Great question. It comes down to what Kurt said, the word awareness. Being more aware of where my body is in space when I'm teaching, or being more aware of my body when I'm doing jiu-jitsu, and being more aware of my body when I'm fishing, about feeling the water run against my feet as I'm standing in the river. So the awareness piece is huge. But I don't know, man, that's a question I could chew on for hours. It's just, I don't know, it's so much, it's about awareness. I mean, I still do some of the same things I've done in the past, but it's just changed in a sense. It's a different thread, if I could say that, where I'm more aware of what I'm doing. Where I think before you just go through the motions because I have to go teach, I have to get a lift. And now it's purposefully doing things with awareness, which, man, it just, your eyes lighten up, go, wow, that happens? I mean, that's there when I'm fishing. It's weird. It's purposeful awareness. I mean, it's just, it's even hard to describe, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and what I'm hearing from you, Marc, too, to translate a bit and to associate with other listeners is the shift from I have to I get to. Right? I have to go teach, I have to lift, I have to work out, I have to eat healthy, instead of I get to do those things. Because those are all opportunities. And as Marc has highlighted so far, those are opportunities with his awareness he is now seeing more of, which is really cool.
Absolutely, that's huge. You're right. It's like the past few days I've been home because of COVID at school. Man, it's just driving me insane because I want to be with my kids. I want to teach because I can teach. And granted, I can return 4 years. I may teach 20 more. I mean, you're right. I get to. That's a good way to put it.
Well, that's beautiful. I posted a quote yesterday from a book that I had picked up at the library, Buddhism for Dudes.
Nice.
And it spoke to, you can check it out on the Instagram story or maybe we'll make a highlight or whatever, but it spoke to the idea. You start to add this awareness or mindfulness piece to, other activities. You were just speaking to how, your hobbies and whatnot, but how is that translated into like your personal interactions with other people? Do you find yourself excited or frustrated, because the quote I posted pertained to, like, you may experience a sense of frustration once you sort of get it. You're like, holy shit, I can be aware at any point. It becomes sort of like the secret that you know that you want to share with everybody. Mm-hmm. Have you found excitement in that, or any sort of potential impatience? What I was trying to get at last week with Coach McKay, but sort of fumbling over my words, maybe you guys can help me here, is sort of like, with humility, getting over the sense that, like, wow, I know, like, I know this secret that I want you guys to embrace. And then just noticing out in the world that so many people are missing it. Is that just me having a pessimistic viewpoint? Because I'll acknowledge that as well. But I mean, I see it all over now, people just going through the motions. And granted, that's what I was doing. So it's not really from a place of judgment per se. But, like, shoot, how are you assisting others, I guess, in aiming for this awareness? Maybe that's just the best way to phrase the jumble of ideas I've got going on. Right? So how do you act in a way that shares this?
That's a great question. I mean, in the past, I've been one that just...
Roundabout, but I got there.
Good. that last part there really made it clear to me. But anyways, in the past, I've been more that just tells you this is what you have to do. But now I'm more reflective when I talk to people. I'm more able to kind of see them and see what they're really saying and why they're saying it, which is kind of weird to say that. So I don't necessarily tell them this is what you need to do. I kind of lead them along the way and see how they talk, see what they're dealing with. And I might not even share that day or that week or that month with them what I think they've been missing. I mean, case in point, I have a friend that's not into breath work, needs breath work, and I've been just sharing what I've been doing. You know, just sharing what it's done for me and kind of, you know, little snippets here and there. And just 2 days ago, he calls me, dude, how do you do this? What do I need to do? So to answer your question, it's kind of fluid. I really don't push it on people. I just kind of see where they're at and kind of gauge their temperature, so to speak, to know when I can help them. Because you know how it is. You don't want people come to you saying, oh, you should try this, man. Oh, you need this, or you have to do that. That turns me off. And that used to be my personality. But it's more of just gauging the person, seeing what they need, maybe looking through their eyes, so to speak, and trying to see where they're at.
Yeah, man. Ironically, that turns me off as well. That's sort of like, hey, like, check this out. But one of the things, you know, that I've consistently considered now in this personal development is that, like, the things you dislike about other people are often just reflections that you weren't able to see in yourself, right? So, like, you know, one of the things that I've been experiencing is that resistance over, like, not being that person that's like, hey, you can fucking pay attention anytime, so you're not a victim here.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, it's
I lost you guys.
Tough.
We still see you.
Oh, I can see you good, yeah. We got, you know, usual Wi-Fi, the whole world on it, but you're crystal clear, brother. And, you know, on that topic, to speak about my own experience and then parlay this back to Mark, I definitely experienced some of the same things you're discussing, Kurt, where, you know, as you open up your awareness, it becomes, period, when you pay more attention to one thing, you start to pay attention to more things, right? We talked about this before, and as that grows, it becomes easier and easier to notice, like, woof, that person could use some of this, or woof, that person is a little bit on their programmed path, right? I think that what Mark spoke to, and I want him to speak a little bit more to, is that process of helping that person realize that without that telling, right? Because for anyone, you get told something, it throws you back to being a little kid, mom or dad's telling you to pick up your clothes or put a thing in the dishwasher, and that's the last thing you want to hear, right? So being your own coach and leading yourself down this thread is a process of experimentation and exploration. Is that what you try to do with your students and your players now, that you've kind of gained this edge?
Yes. I like to lead from the front. I like to embody the things that I believe in and what I think is important, especially where I teach. I teach middle school, 6th through 8th graders, and we live in a very rural area, a very impoverished area. So the kids I teach and love on every day are they have tough lives. Without getting too emotional, they have tough lives. So it's important for me to show them that there is hope, to show them the things that I have and just how I live my life, and that they know there is hope out there for them. I guess that kind of gets me off on a tangent. I get a little emotional and lose my train of thought. But again, I just like to lead from the front. Again, if I can take care of myself, if I can make myself more aware of what I need, I can definitely give to others. So I think it's more just being who I am, and just, I don't know, my students started telling me I'm kind of really intense. I'm all excited. I'm always moving, always being active, always loving into them. So it's one of those things where, so I'm losing my train of thought here. I'm just thinking about my kids. But
it's a beautiful thing.
Leading from the front. I mean, it's just leading from the front, letting them see that there is hope, there is something else out there, and giving them that role model, so to speak, that they can dream big and have goals and do whatever they want in life, so to speak. It sounds kind of cliche, but it's so true. Rings true where we live.
Well, cliches are true for a reason in many times, and that leading from the front could also be translated to coaching yourself, right? If you're leading from the front, you're leading yourself, which means that, as you've discussed, you're doing these exercises daily, you're doing these practices, and I think the link that can be made is you have to be doing that before you can share that with anyone else, before you can raise their awareness, before you can start to incite their exploration or investigation.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess that's great because it connects with the Seneca quote you read earlier, in the importance of being around people who are doing the thing. So, part of our, perhaps it's also an identity thing. I know all three of us do identify as a coach, right? But now we've identified this opportunity to, start to put ourselves in environments with people like each other and purposely, discussing this stuff. Perhaps what you're getting at is the best way is to just live it. Just continue to live that, and by, rather than lead with this virtue or high horse that, I'm expressing that I recognize in myself, and you just said you potentially overcoming that past as well. Mm-hmm. But it does seem to be just the answer, right? Just live it in a positive direction.
Yeah, and just you've already illustrated.
It's accountability for ourselves. I apologize.
No,
it's
go ahead.
Accountability for ourselves as well, right?
Absolutely.
Well, and as you illustrated earlier, Mark, with just your buddy, that you've kind of been sharing your experiences with, maybe just living your life, not really going too far out of your way to try to incite his change.
Absolutely.
And then he reaches out. It's like, man, Mark, I bet on his side of things there could be a conversation. Now, this is an imagination of my own, but I'm imagining this conversation he has between himself of, man, Mark is different lately. Man, he's really, in a good place or whatever, and I want to try that, right? And for everybody, this might be a different spark, right? Absolutely. Just like it was different for you, for me, for Kurt. Something to pull from that quote, Kurt, that you brought back around is we know that we can curate our environment, like we're sitting in this awesome playground. We know we can curate our community, right? Mm-hmm. We have us three and the other great people we've discussed or had discussions with and will in the future. Mm-hmm. How do you go about, right, defining your surroundings, right? In today's world, surroundings can mean lots of things. Mm-hmm. Right, so I think it's important for our listeners to understand, how maybe you're curating all of your various surroundings in different ways to continue this growth that you've felt and continue these good feelings.
That's another great question. Man, you guys give me to think today. I love it. It's tough because every environment, every surrounding I have is different. I mean, you might go to in school. I might be at work. And there might be a group of teachers or people being negative, and I kind of want to try to avoid negativity. So, gosh, I guess I just try to frame those scenarios or environments that help me grow, but also knowing I don't necessarily just grow from the high points, I grow from the low points. So I do need to be around those kind of negative conversations to kind of inject some light or some positivity, or I need to be around those kids that are really dealing with some serious stuff. I need to be around them just to help myself grow, but to help them. I mean, because I think a lot of the times you grow not only from your high points, like I said before, but your low points. And you need to really get to the point where you're frustrated or just being real for people. Like my colleague or my friends, I'm real with them. So there's days they know that I'm down here, or days that I'm up here. So I don't know if it really answers your question, but I guess just trying to frame things and be around people that I want to be around, but yet I like being around people that I don't kind of agree with or have different viewpoints or different hobbies, because that makes me grow. It makes me, instead of staying in my little box of teacher, coach, now I get to expand into more things. Like now I'm a hunter, now I fly fish. It helps me expand my life, which helps me grow. So I hope that answers that question, but that's kind of how I see it.
I think that's a great answer, and I think it brings light to something we haven't really discussed in any of our episodes to this point, is you can follow the thread through those negative things as well.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not just about what do I like and peaches and cream all the time. It is the thread of, why am I negative about this thing? Why did I join in that negative conversation and talk shit about somebody that I wouldn't on my own?
And have the awareness and reflection to sit back and go, wow, I missed the boat there. I just struck out in that situation. Now, how can I get better from it? And that's right. And that's how you grow. And that's definitely how you grow.
That's well said, Mark. And that's a really important point for all the listeners. What do you got, Kurt?
Yeah, that sparks the idea and deep philosophical idea of yin and yang. A lot of my persona as I project as a coach is surrounding, curating your environment. So, for example, if your buddy comes over to your house, Mark, they're going to hang out in the garage. Like your chances are you're going to do something cool because you got lots of cool shit to play with, and not that much uncool shit that's unnecessary. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, that's a huge part of my shtick, and like having an Instagram account that you're following the stuff that like is interesting to you. But one thing that I love that you're mentioning here is the value in like the disconfirming information.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Right? So like you're trying to be positive in your life, but we sort of touched on this. This Lowe's thing keeps coming up, and
Lowe's is going to be a sponsor.
Kind of loving it, but like, but the disconfirming information, I imagine to be in some ways connected to our training in the past, right? Like we've purposely handled this adversity as like a training rep. Mm-hmm. We know what we want is to be tough and resilient, like. But you have to do the negative thing to sort of like get there. There's got to be darkness before the light.
Absolutely.
Can you speak to that and like potentially how shift, your mindset as someone who's trained, who've been into strength training, been into jujitsu, can you speak to that now? And are you able to approach that negative group of teachers like in a similar way that you learned how to do through a heavy squat set or like a hard roll with a really good opponent? Like it just is awareness, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's awareness. It is. It's like, I had that thought. It is. It's like just trying to be available. I mean, because granted, they could have a negative conversation here, and if I leave and say I'm never going to that again, I'm not going to be able to affect change. And I guess since day one, I started teaching 27 years ago, I've always wanted to help people. Whether it's teaching, coaching, strength conditioning, helping lose weight, gain muscle. So I'm always wanting to help people. And now it's more along lines of helping people's lives where not just posture, breath work, and movement, but negativity, or as you guys talk about the ikigai. I mean, some people, I'm a teacher because I need the money. Well, that's not where it needs to be. I mean, so I guess I put myself in those situations. I try to personally put myself in situations where there might be negative talk or somebody who doesn't feel like they've reached their ikigai, where I can help them and help uncover things through maybe my life or maybe just a quick little nugget where I share with them. So I guess, I just put myself out there, I guess, is the answer.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Again, I've said this 4 or 5 times because I truly believe that this is important for our listeners to hear, because there are many of us in this world that elect out of those situations. And if that were the case and everybody around the world just elected out of tough situations, not much would get accomplished on the planet. So, I think it's important to recognize that we need people like Marc who are willing to hang in there and maybe endure some of that negativity to possibly incite an awakening moment for the person involved in that interaction.
Absolutely.
Right? And have you experienced that yet in your let's call it short time of coming into this realm?
Rephrase that again to me.
Have you experienced,
We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that so regularly.
Oh yeah.
Just have no question, really. Just
talk about shit.
No, but
I'm curious to hear what you come up with for this. What?
Yeah, no.
Like he'll give a question.
That's what we're doing here, Marc.
Say, and it's like that it sits there, and then I'm like thinking, I want to think about this. But, so rephrase that again. But you're excited.
So, in your experience, have you experienced helping someone make an awakening, let's say, in a negative moment, out of a negative conversation?
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, one that comes to mind because you're sitting in my gym environment is, you get that client that comes in, that has a poor self-esteem, they've gained too much weight, they don't know how, and just to get them in here and, number one, love on them, and then share with them some things in this gym and put them in environments they're not really realizing they're in to help them change and help them make nutritional changes and environmental changes. So in their areas, yeah, it's almost like consistently where I have opportunities in the gym with players, with students. So yeah, I mean, in my line of work, my goodness, it seems like almost daily, if I really put myself out there and really aware, it's almost a daily occurrence. I mean, some might be really small, which might not be small, but some might be huge adjustments. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. And part two, to follow up on this question, how do you find yourself preparing, right, for the inevitability of these moments that occur throughout your day? Whether you have an appointment and you know that it could potentially be a negative situation or a challenging one, or you just wake up on a Saturday with no plan and you could pretty much bank on something happening that day. So how do you prepare for these inevitabilities?
Basically, I prepare by taking care of myself. I mean, if I take care of myself, things should fall into place. Now, let me just preface it, too, by saying I do have my dark days. I do have my negative days. I'm by no means perfect, and it may sound like I'm saying I am. No way. And there's days I wake up, and I'm grumpy as all get out, and it just doesn't, overcook my oatmeal, and my flaxseed's gone. So, sure, I have those bad days, too, but I need to take care of myself. I need to make sure I'm centered, I'm grounded. I need to make sure that I feel good because I take care, lifting, whatever it might be. So, in that realm, I got to take care of myself first, and then just, it sounds weird, but just kind of live the day. I mean, just see what comes, and I know it might be going to a meeting where there's going to be some negativity. And it's tough sometimes for me to say, okay, I'm going to this meeting. I know there's going to be 2 negative people. I want to really tell them what I really think, but that's not what they need. So I kind of have that internal dialogue with myself about how I want to handle things. And if I was that person, what I need if I'm that person who's negative. And that helps me see things that way. I guess being around for so many years helps me realize that. I need to put myself in their shoes, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the big point to pluck out of there is the fact that you are preparing yourself, period. It's prepare, act, reflect, adjust, right?
Yeah.
The preparation in general is the rep that we need to be able to tap into center or balance.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so as someone who wears a lot of hats, you seem to take on all kinds of responsibilities and, having 3 children. What's your strategy for, scheduling out? Do you make a weekly plan, or do you have a particular morning routine? What do you got?
I definitely have a plan. We have a number of Google Calendar saves us with a family with my one daughter's in college, with the other daughter's a senior in high school with soccer, and younger daughter does soccer. So we have a Google Calendar, number 1. That keeps our, I need to see things written out. So that helps us to define the week. But I set goals for myself. Like, okay, this week I want to be able to exercise 3 out of 5 days. Knowing it might be a busy week. And I make sure I find time to do that. But the morning routine is I wake up, I come down here to my gym, I do my breath work, I might do yoga one day, I might do some bodyweight exercises, then I meditate. Then I head upstairs, do a shower, then I have my oatmeal, my yogurt with my flaxseed, and then I start my day. And it just seems like that kind of routine kind of keeps my mind focused, keeps my mind rolling, and just helps me stay grounded and centered into where I need to be. But routines are huge for me. I need to have a routine. Otherwise, without a plan, I kind of wander. Oh, what should I do today? I don't want to work out today, and I just end up not doing things. So having a routine is important for me.
I think that's huge, and great question, Kurt, because this speaks to so many people that are listening. But
it's real life shit, It's not just about like the meditations. How do you actually make time for this when you have XYZ responsibilities that are reality for most people, including me? Yeah. And again, let me take this opportunity to say, you are a very dialed in person. At humility in saying you have some bad days, but I am also. That happens to me as well. I'm far from this perfect character, so
100%. And I think anybody that's watched to this point can see Marc's playground in here and how it's organized. It's also a level of I don't want to speak for you, and I want you to kind of take off on this next, but I see a level of organization that also allows for the freedom that you want to have. Yes. How have you created that in your life as it's evolved as well with being so busy?
Yeah, I'm a very particular person. I like things to be organized, as you can tell by my bookshelf and how all my weights and stuff are. So that being said, I have to organize my life that way too. I need to have, my morning routine. This is what I do for breakfast, so to speak, and this is how my teaching day goes. And all the teaching day kind of the same classes every other day, so it's kind of a routine to it. But within that routine, it's different. But I try to frame my day that can unfold, so to speak. Morning routine, go to work, come back and train, or go to my daughter's soccer game and then spend time with my wife. So it kind of helped me organize things is important to do that. So that's pretty much how I do it. I organize things.
That's great. And that's, as you've discussed all the way through today, you found that organization in many ways through you following the thread. As you've evolved, you've grown your implements, you got a bow, you got a rod, you've added these things to your life as you've added these activities, but they all also have found a nice, neat place.
Yes.
Right? And I think that speaks to your awareness and your attention as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That was a great question, Curdy.
Yeah. That's something I need to work on. I identify, though, that when I'm organized, the idea being essentialism. Mm-hmm. You might have many things, but I imagine they almost all have a purpose.
Totally.
Yes. And things that don't have a purpose, you can remove. How many things in your life are unnecessary, and you could just clear that space up to create a morning routine. Because I imagine a lot of people, I've heard for years and years, what are the biggest reasons people don't give themselves time, whether that's exercise or meditation, whatever it is. What are the biggest reasons? The resources, time, money, energy. But can you speak to potential intentional removal of inessential things to free up space for this?
Cool.
Yeah, maybe what have you
do you ever consciously say that doesn't belong in my life because I'm interested in this other stuff?
That's a good point. That's a tough one because there's so many things I want to do. I want to snowboard. I want to ski. But if I say yes to those, I have to take something else out. Because, again, I have a wife, 3 kids, full-time job, I coach. So there's only certain things that I can do. So I might kind of dabble and try something. But ultimately, I just got to keep what I think is important to me, what my thread is, which is helping people become who they want to be, and then doing things that I enjoy. And I try to keep that simple. In the past, I've had a hard time always saying no. Someone says, hey, can you come out with this? Sure. Hey, can you come train this? Oh, sure. But as I mature, I guess, later in life, I realize there's only certain things I can do, and I need to stick to what I feel gives me joy and really helps me become who I am. So it's been tough, but I think more lately I've been able to say no to things. Well, man, I really would love to snowboard, but I just can't do it, and I'm okay with it. That answered that question.
Do you think that has anything to do with your awareness practice?
Oh my goodness, yeah. Because probably 5 years ago, 5 years ago I took up longboarding, and so I would do many different things, and they would go on these spurts for like a year, and they would drop off. Case in point, I took up cycling. So I did cycling. Then I joined a cycling club. Then I did a mini triathlon. I haven't got on my bike to go for a long ride, a road bike, in probably 3 years. And then, my wife always say I jump at this and jump at that, something shiny. But it was always trying to find who I am and what makes me happy. And it lately comes to that awareness of, Mark, guy, who am I? What am I good at doing? What is needed out there? And what gives me joy? So I think it's really helped immensely having this awareness of who I really am, where I need to be. And that's why I think the next 51 years of my life are going to be amazing.
That's such a great point, Mark, and such a good, honest answer, too. It really, again, going back to awareness, but I hear you say, as you've tapped into this awareness, you've jumped on less things, partially because of schedule, but also, have you been finding the things that maybe truly bring you happiness or joy that are more sustainable instead of flash in the pan activities? Not that it's not good to experiment, but...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Saturday my wife and I went on the WAG Trail, which is the trail that goes from Wellsville down to Pennsylvania. It's beautiful. And just being out there on Saturday in the wilderness by the Genesee River where I fish made me realize, this is what I'm going to be doing the rest of my life. I'll be walking in the wilderness, fishing, those things that'll be sustainable because it gives me joy and helps build me up. Not that snowboarding is bad, but I would rather not do that so that I can do other things. And I'm okay with that. So it's been a process, but I think the more sustainable things are things that give me joy.
That's really cool because I would imagine that most humans, definitely myself guilty, we jump at the shiny thing, right? That sounds cool. Yeah, let me try that. Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think as we're doing it, while we lack the awareness, it might be fun in the moment, but we don't ever really investigate. Is this good for me? Am I happy? Is it sustainable?
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, and those answers are moving targets as well, right? So,
Yes.
Potentially, I would hope that you don't regret the time that you spent training for the triathlon. Like, all of that stuff is just your thread, and it's part of who you are, and maybe you have that bike and there's, a different time in your life, you may embrace that part again.
Absolutely.
One thing that's coming to mind for me is this mountain bike behind me. I got super into mountain biking for the 2 summers before Logan was born. And I was really getting into it, go multiple times a week and rip it. And I've literally been 2 times since he's born. And I was grateful for that time with the activity. I still own the bike, but it just sort of moved out of the way because it's a long time to choose to be away from Logan.
Exactly.
I've sort of gravitated a little bit more to activities I can do at my house or a hike and take Logan and maybe fill more of those Ikigai circles at one time.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, there's a goal.
It sounds like you're doing the same thing. And I just want to say, I truly look up to you as a role model in that, man. You've done your life, your trajectory seems, very similar to what I'm on.
Oh yeah.
And so if you're looking forward to the 51 years, I'm looking forward to the 51 years learning from you.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Learn from each other, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to sit and listen to you speak, Mark, because you were following the thread before you knew what following the thread was.
Absolutely.
And I would imagine that there are a lot of our listeners that may be out there doing the same thing and be like, well, I try stuff. I do things. And I want to make sure that the point gets made that, you've always been doing that, but it hasn't been until you've come into this realm of checking your temperature. How does it affect me? How do I feel when I do it? Do I love it? And then also, balancing yourself with this centering to find what is the right combination. And as Kurt said, it'll shift. Maybe
Absolutely.
Maybe the biking comes back. Maybe the hunting ebbs and flows.
Absolutely.
But it's just finding this combination that, it's, again, I agree with Kurt. I mean, someone to look up to for everybody that's part of the conversation or listening in as to living a fulfilled life and discovering things as you go along, and that you can learn at any point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for me to just tie that all together, and the thought that I'm framing is it's okay to try something and have it be a flash in the pan activity.
Absolutely.
You know, if you have awareness of what it's doing for you in that moment in life, you know, that's a growth opportunity, regardless of if that mountain bike sits on the shelf for the rest of life.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing to be exposed to the infiniteness of all of this.
yeah, and that's, you know, thus the title, obviously. It just never ends. And I think the skill is that you're really developing is checking your temperature, aka checking in with yourself, and then centering and balancing.
Absolutely.
You know, so my next question, Mark, is we've discussed, you know, your routines, your organization, these things that set you up for success, and they're beautiful. And I think many people can learn from these. When you have that routine set as you do now, and you have a great schedule, and then the wrench flies in from left field and jams up the gears, what do we fall back to? How do you respond? What is your routine with that?
Yeah, great question. Because there are days I might want to sleep in, and I might not get a chance to meditate, and then I'll realize it as I'm driving to work or at work that, boy, I feel different, or I respond different to things. And I think it comes in that point when I maybe get to school or get to a practice where something sets me off inside, when I realize, oh, wait a minute, I got to step back, I got to recenter, and then go forward. So yeah, the wrenches are almost every day. You know, whether it's intentionally not doing a workout or unintentionally doing a workout or something negative comes in. So it's just a matter of being able to be, again, aware of my surroundings and who I am. So yeah, that's important. But yeah, and there's days I might skip workout, and it might be till 3 o'clock in the afternoon where I realize, oh shoot, I got to recenter. I got to get back to where I need to be, because I really do feel a difference. But yeah, that happens.
That's great. And, you know, again, hearing it being practiced daily, right, by people that are quote unquote regular humans like us, right?
Yeah.
We're just living our lives, looking to be happy and be maximizing the experience on this planet. Like, he has days. I have days where I don't wake up in time, or I need some extra sleep, and it's about checking that temperature, balancing
absolutely.
yourself out. That's awesome.
Absolutely. That's big.
I actually missed the majority of what you guys were saying. Poor Wi-Fi connection, so apologize. But it sounds like you guys are touching on that it's okay occasionally to, you know, to sleep in or to miss the workout. What I want to ask you, Mark, is how do you navigate that, right? Because we all face resistance.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, like you just want to stay in bed, for example, right? And so how do you balance that? Occasionally your body is telling you that you need to rest versus like, hey, stop being a bitch today.
Yeah.
And get up and meditate, because you know that's going to help you, you know, invest, you know, in the rest of your day.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain non-negotiables that I feel I need to have, such as breath work and meditation. You know, regardless of that, I could take 15 minutes right there and take care of those. Those I feel have to be non-negotiables in my life. Do I do them all the time? No. But I think those have to be the ones that need to stick with me. And I guess just kind of going with the flow, just seeing what I need. I mean, I have a Polar watch. It tracks my sleep. And I might wake up and go, oh, I feel kind of groggy. Oh, yeah, it says I didn't have good sleep. So I probably shouldn't work out. But it's one of those things where if I don't think I should work out, I'm just going to start to work out and just get in the gym for 5 minutes, see how I feel. If I get in there in 5 minutes and I really feel like this is not the day, no, I won't. Because otherwise, I'll be like, the watch says I shouldn't train, so I won't train today. Then tomorrow I'll probably go to a soccer game. Now, then the third day, I didn't sleep well either. So 4 days pass, and I'm like, I didn't do a thing. So I just sometimes, and I remember Jocko Willink always says this too, just get up, get in the gym, and try. All of a sudden you realize, oh, that was a great workout, and I crushed it, or in 5 minutes, it's not where I need to be. So, yeah, these wearable technologies are great. It's more about knowing and being aware of yourself and what your body needs and how you feel, and then take that temperature and realize, well, that's a weak part of me saying that, or no, I really need that rest. And I hope, yeah.
That's such a good point. And just to piggyback on Mark, extrapolate that beyond a workout, right? Just your day, period. Get up and try.
Exactly.
That is a great pluck out of Mark's statement there. Great call, Mark.
And I think that comes back to, I mean, I hate to talk about that, but the heart attack kind of woke me up. You realize there's a time where you might not be able to get up and do what you want to do. And it kind of sounds weird, but it's true. So just try. Just get up and go 5 minutes and see what happens. So I think that kind of puts things in perspective.
Yeah, I love that you made reference to the wearable and also gave a hat tip to that. Your intuition is going to be better than that.
Yes.
We've already touched on a few times the distraction of some of these things. Like it's okay to have the wearable or like a target number of calories or a workout program that you should be following whether your body feels great or not. If you're a 22-year-old guy, like fucking squat, man. Yeah. But the intuition is the important part. My question is, as somebody who's been, engaged in this training and sort of identified with being the disciplined person who gets up and does it, how do you compliment, the wearables or the shiny new thing in other people? You said that's kind of always been your thing. Recognizing now that it's more about your intuition, how do you navigate that in your personal practice, and then also how you engage with other people, right? So the wearables, the shiny fad diet, whatever. Because I'm imagining that my life is similar to yours in more ways, in that, like, you've tried keto, right? You've tried
diet, keto,
this and that high protein diet, and like, I suppose, what are you sort of like settling on? You already mentioned having a breath work and meditation, but
what am I settling?
Yeah, that's so many things. Many things.
No,
but go for it.
It's good though. It's like, because I see as a teacher and coach, and I see what people need, and I might hear a kid say, "I don't have time to work out today." Well, you have a goal of wanting to be at this next level. Well, you can take 5 minutes to do a wall ball drill, or, boy, I'm tired of being overweight. Well, you can just maybe skip carbs this one meal and do things. So that's a tough part, because it's taken me to understand myself, even still to this day, my intuition of what I think I need, and to help other people. That's a tough one. So I think it comes back just, again, leading and showing them who I am. But that's the $1,000,000 question. If you can get people to really understand, to read past a wearable technology, or, boy, I feel like garbage today, I'm not going to work out because, I read it, recovery is important. That's a tough one. Again, I think it comes back to just knowing people and getting into relationships and communicating and being around. But I think the more I do things, the more I can help others, I guess. But not everybody's like me. I mean, not everybody's like me. So that's a tough question, but it's tough to navigate.
Yeah, and Mark, you've touched multiple times on yourself growing this skill of following your thread and finding what you want. And in my experience, and I'm wondering if it's the same for you, but the more that I follow my own thread, it makes it easier. Just like our quote said, we learn as we teach. You can reverse that all you want. It's the same statement. I'm also a coach of baseball players, and as I follow my own thread, it makes it a lot easier to help assist my players to follow theirs.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure, like, you guys can all imagine, your clients, Kurt, and your baseball players, that when you see them following a thread that we like and that we like to coach and teach, and then they get that fire for it, man, that's the best.
Yeah.
That is the best. I
the
mean,
light bulb moment.
The light bulb moment. Then they realize they are a whole new person. We're not just making baseball players or fitness clients to the gym. We're making them better moms, better dads, better friends, better sisters, brothers. That's the best part about it, man. To me, that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, that's well said, and obviously, as you've mentioned many times, starting with yourself, right? Just like myself, just like Kurt, it's got to start at home, at home base, so to speak, sticking on the baseball theme, and then we can extend it out to the rest of the field.
Yes, absolutely. That's a good point. Yep, that's a good way to put
it. In my experience, majority of people are still under the impression that the wearable technology knows best, or that there is a particular set of exercises that will make them shredded or happy or whatever the case. In your line of work and experience, let's say scheduling a baseball practice, or if you're going to write a workout for players, can you speak a little bit about your process in that? So just versus like, hey, I have this opportunity as a package. This player wants to do an hour workout twice a week. How do I put all this stuff in here, or how do I meet them where they're at, but also have them recognize that it is about being a better human being? You're just going to earn it through like this.
That's a good point. Good question.
Maybe just like for a baseball practice or whatever. Mike and I talk about this all the time. Like, you could do the hitting drills all day, but so how do you schedule them, or do you have like something you write down for, hey, this is what we're going to do, and then how likely are you to keep that versus send it?
That's good. It's the same with everything. It's like when I have personal training clients, I bring them in, I talk to them, I ask them a ton of questions, and I let them speak. Or my players, I watch them play or listen to them speak of what they want. And that kind of helps me guide what they need to do. Now, obviously, I know what they need to do fitness-wise, or they need to have these skills for baseball. So that kind of guides my overall, I guess you would say, unit plan, like I would say if I'm teaching. But then hearing what people need or seeing what they need helps me create that program for them. I mean, each player's different. Every client's different. So I wouldn't say there's a set template. There kind of is, but in that template, you can put a multitude of things in there to help that person. And then when I am teaching them or coaching them, I want them to understand, here's where we're doing what we're doing. Here's why I have you doing this exercise, or here's why I have you work on this wall ball drill, because it's going to work on this down the road, or it's going to help improve your hand-eye coordination, or it's going to help you improve you as a person, as a mother, as a father. So I guess it comes back to knowing what they need through conversation, and knowing what they need through how they move and how they act helps me devise my lessons and my plans. Because you're right, I might have a great 2-hour practice. We get into doing bunt defense, and I'm realizing that they're missing a key point of footwork. Man, we need to backtrack even more and change things a little bit. So it's being able to be flexible, be pliable in all my plans. So yeah, it's important to understand gauging what people need by maybe what they say or what they don't say. Sometimes people tell you what they need by not saying it. Does that make sense?
Totally. Totally.
And you guys know us as coach and as
we
coaches.
all think we know what we need.
Yes.
Right.
When you talk to people, you can understand what they really need by what they're saying and not saying, which is kind of neat. So I guess it's fluid. It's a fluid thing with training and coaching.
You may have experienced some of this too, Mark, but once, right, you've discussed perfectly how you meet your clients, players, and students right where they're at, right? We ask questions, we follow their threads a bit so that we can craft this for them. Right, and once, I think our mission here is, I guess my question is, have you noticed, and if you've noticed it, what has been the effect of once this student, client, or player understands what they actually need? What have you seen from that moment?
Growth. I mean, just, you know how they always say the light bulb turns on. You can just see it in their eyes. You can see it in their body, in their posture, that things change. They become more confident all of a sudden, and they're really excelling in their sport. And it not just translate to, say, baseball, but translate to their education and other areas of their life. So it's just kind of eye-opening for them to see that. But yeah, it's fun to see.
Yeah, and that loops back to before where we talked about when you tell people, hey, do this, right? It puts us on our heels already as human beings. So bringing the total package of the question earlier back to this, it's, I can hear you meeting your students, clients, and players where they're at, checking their temperatures, asking them questions, communicating, and then making adjustments, right? Which is what we've been talking about this whole time. You prepare a practice plan, you act the practice out, you reflect on it, and you adjust, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's huge.
Well,
That's good stuff.
I'm definitely proud to hear how much you're sharing this with all the people in your world, because you do contact so many lives.
Yeah.
Young, medium, old, everywhere in between, athletes, non-athletes. It's such an important realm to have somebody like yourself who is awakening to this world and there to help mold and meet those people where they're at and invite them to start following their own threads.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's a good journey.
Totally. Kurt, do you have any final questions for Coach?
Well, my Wi-Fi has been very goofy. I'm missing the juicy stuff. It sounds like you're closing off here.
Well, not necessarily
I can't wait
closing
to listen.
off.
I can't wait to listen and hear the sign off. But I do just want to express gratitude for Marc. As I mentioned before, I look up to you for this, and hopefully we can learn from each other for many years. Thanks for being on here, and continue following the thread, my friend.
Will do. I appreciate you guys having me here. It's been fun.
Yeah, thanks so much, Marc. It's great for our listeners, certainly great for us. We're always learning, and everybody out there in the world, find some threads within your life and start to explore, start to investigate, and start to find the infiniteness of it. So, thanks for listening. See you all next week.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you.